Yes, your favorite program segment every week, the Power Rankings. But today's show is not appropriate for those under 26 because if your frontal lobe is not developed, it's going to make no sense. I can't explain it. It has all gone to chaos, and I don't know what to do. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Make your second listen Locked On College Football. We'll open up with the Power Rankings that were not very fun to put together this week. We'll also talk playoff odds for the Big 12. And how I heard from a small birdie that the Big 12 might miss the playoff entirely. And it's true. That's a possibility. Then at the end of the show, BYU fans, you stay. Stick around. We're going to have a chat. Just you and I are going to have a chat later on. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. First, the bottom team of the Power Rankings, me on yesterday's show. Like post-wedding, haven't slept in days. Tie is halfway undone. That was the most demoralized that I've felt going into a podcast. And today might be the second most because I don't know what to do with this league. It has gone haywire. Do we send it to a correctional facility? You know, is it a troubled child? Back where I was from, my parents would always be like, hey, Subiaco Academy in Arkansas was the boys' school. They'd be like, hey, you keep acting up like that, we'll send you to Subiaco. This whole conference belongs in Subiaco. I'm going to start with the number 2 team in the Power Rankings this week. It's the BYU Cougars. What? They lost. They've looked pretty bad the last couple of weeks. 3 of their last 4 have been fairly porous games. All right, buddy. They're still the number 2 team in the Big 12. They're still 9-1. Number 1, though, undisputed, Colorado. The Jake Paul, in so many ways, of the Big 12, Colorado. I love rooting for this Colorado team now. And again, I will eat crow. I'll put my foot in my mouth. I called this an AAU brand. Deion Sanders is not going to be able to lead a team to actual college football wins. And I was wrong. I was so wrong. And now they are the best team currently in this conference. They're playing better football than anybody else, more consistent football than anyone else. Colorado at 1, I wouldn't want to face them. At 3, I also would not want to face Arizona State. Sam Leavitt to Cam Scatterboot. Their losses are funky. They lost to Cincinnati and Texas Tech. But their win against Kansas State on the road and their possible victory, ESPN predicts a 56% chance of victory against BYU this week, puts Arizona State at 3. They could go to the Big 12 championship. Dang. At 4, Baylor. What? Why is Baylor at 4? They literally lost to Iowa State. Why is Baylor at 4? They would get killed by Kansas State. What? Buddy, Power Rankings. They've won 4 straight games. They're blowing teams out. They just did something they'd never done before by winning at West Virginia. And there are 3 teams to me playing complete football consistently right now. Baylor, Arizona State, Colorado. They need to be in the top 5. Iowa State's at 5 because they're not playing complete football right now. I don't know if I can trust Iowa State. I thought I could 3 weeks ago, but I still don't know. I still don't have an official vote of confidence that Iowa State is going to be good every single week now. Did I enjoy them this week? Yeah, best bet I did. But their bipolar nature in weeks prior was not enough for me to have them at 4. They're at 5. Still in the Big 12 title hunt. So is Baylor somehow. 6, Kansas State. Wow. I never thought we would get to the 10th week of games, I guess, your 10th game, and say Kansas State's season is over. They could still go to the Big 12 title. I don't think they will. What they were fighting for, the high expectations, high hopes of this team, are effectively gone. And that sucks. So much potential. How did you underperform to this level? Who has to take accountability for that? Not for me to answer. 7 is Texas Tech. They're still existing. They play football. You won the bye week. You moved up thanks to the bye week. And now, this week, the Red Raiders are playing for a Big 12 title. It's still possible, and they're going to win against Oklahoma State. They're only 3.5-point favorites. They're going to blow them out. Love it. Then, in our 8th spot, rounding out the top half of the Big 12, TCU. People forget they've won 3 of their last 4. The only loss in there is that Baylor team that's playing really well right now. TCU is not a bad football team. They are a top 8 team in the Big 12. They're at 8 in the Power Rankings. 1 Colorado, 2 BYU, 3 Arizona State, 4 Baylor, 5 Iowa State, 6 Kansas State, 7 Texas Tech, 8 TCU, 9 West Virginia, That was not good. The defense wasn't good. Well, let's fire the defensive coordinator and see if it works. Didn't. Sawyer Robertson threw all over you. And when he didn't want to throw, Baylor effectively ran all over you. Refire Neil Brown? Fans shouldn't root for their team to lose, but the fashion in which you lost, not good. 10 Kansas. What's crazy is that I told you earlier, Colorado, Arizona State, Baylor are playing the most complete football in the Big 12. We have to go from 4, Baylor at 4, to Kansas at 10 to find the team that is also kind of in that category, but still 3 and 6, so I can't rank them very high. Kansas is so dangerous right now and just got a top 10 road victory. Take BYU out of the equation and just talk about the number. They beat the number 6 team in the country on the road. That's wild. 11 Cincinnati. What to me, what sucks worse than being really good or really bad is just being okay. 5-5, 3-4 in Big 12 play. It's a tough conference to adjust to. And maybe it's the Power 5 you struggled to adjust to, but BYU's doing it. There's solace in the fact that UCF is not really doing it. Houston isn't totally doing it. But is this the standard of football that Cincinnati has? I don't think so. 12 Arizona. They can win football games. I forgot that was a thing for them. Congrats to you guys. 13 Houston. Still fun. They're in that category of you're not very good at football, but you're still fun. And points for you. First-year head coach. That's good. You're better than Oklahoma State. And they've had a gajillionth year head coach. UCF is at 14. Yeah, I mean, what else do you want me to do with you? You were better last year? I'm kind of confused. Like Dylan Risk is, if he had played the whole season, are you where are you right now if that's the case? Because you've been good. Defense is not going to hold up their end of the bargain, though, are they? 15 is Utah. You're not last. Utah's not last. It's always the 5th grade spelling bee. And I could spell. I wasn't awful at spelling. I got second to last. I don't know what happened, man. I choked. But the solace was Destiny Jones got last. And not me. And I'll always be able to hold that. Utah, you can hold that. Hold that not L. Hold that not W. Just kind of like a hyphen. You just hold on to it and embrace it. 16 Oklahoma State. I award you no points. May God have mercy on your soul. Wow. Fire someone, please. Everyone else who's bad is firing people. Except for you. Yeah. Basketball season, which also probably won't go very well. Yeah. Sorry. The top 10 teams, top 16, the power rankings. 1 Colorado, 2 BYU, 3 Arizona State, 4 Baylor, 5 Iowa State, 6 Kansas State, 7 Texas Tech, 8 TCU, 9 West Virginia, 10 Kansas, 11 Cincinnati, 12 Arizona, 13 Houston, 14 UCF, 15 Utah, and 16 Oklahoma State. Coming up, we might miss the college football playoff altogether. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Saved my life. Post-wedding, got to record a show. Tie is halfway down my chest, and there's no life in my eyes. 5 Hour Energy got me on a microphone for you. With their brand new, I've tried it, 5 Hour Energy shot called the Stand the Fan shot. And it's flavored fan fuel for us, the biggest fans. We see you. Huge play in the latest game. Big upcoming matchup. Exciting moment with your friends. All of that can be elevated with fan fuel from 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy knows no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is a mile long. That's why a limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy shot is here to keep you fueled. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy. Available at 5hourenergy.com. Shipped nationwide. That is 5 Hour Energy. Visit them today. Oh, the Big 12's in a really tough college football playoff spot. Before the rankings even come out tomorrow night, BYU, Colorado, Arizona State. I'm going to talk specifically about BYU later and their opportunity to still make the college football playoff and how we shouldn't freak out entirely. For Colorado, they look really good. They also have 2 losses. For Arizona State, they look really good. They also have 2 losses. And guess who doesn't? Boise State. Guess who doesn't? Army. There is an ultimate mayday, terrible, burn the entire thing down scenario that is kind of possible now. Earlier this season, I believe it was Brock Osweiler, who I called an absolute idiot, said, you know, the Big 12 doesn't have to make the playoff whatsoever. And I thought, that's weird, because I type it in, it's Power 4 conferences get a bye, you idiot. Turns out that's not what the verbiage says. Top 4 highest ranked conference champions get a bye. And that 5th spot is for the 5th highest ranked conference champion. Why is that the case? So that in typical years, the Power 4 will get 4 teams bye weeks. Then the 5th ranked conference champion from the AAC or the Mountain West will fill that probably 12 spot. We're going to give the group of 5 a little nudge. But on a year like this, where it's been utter and total chaos, Boise State exists. Army exists. And while those teams are kind of low on the rankings right now, I mean, Army at least is low on the rankings right now, they are a group of 5 schools. Washington State's in this category too. That if the Big 12 has a 2 or 3 loss team that wins the league, we might see, this is, buckle up, listen, not good. We might see Boise State take that 4 spot and a bye. I could see them being ranked above the Big 12 champion. You probably could too. As a 1-loss team, they're only lost the number 1 school in the country. Okay. Well, then what if it's Army? What if it's Washington State, who is either undefeated or at 1 loss, and the Big 12 champion is 10-3? And the Big 12 runner-up is 10-3. And then we start piecing it together and we say, hey, wait a second. What about those 2-loss SEC teams? What about Notre Dame? What about those 2-loss Big 10 teams? Could we get a 3-loss Big 12 team over 2-loss Indiana? Probably not. Probably shouldn't. We wouldn't like it the other way around, right? Would we get a 3-loss Big 12 team over a Penn State, over a Tennessee, over Notre Dame, over Miami, over Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss? No. What if SMU has 1 loss at the end of this and Miami has 2 losses? Would a 3-loss Big 12 team get in over one of those schools? Probably not. What if Texas A&M is 9-3 and a Big 12 team is 10-3? Well, I would certainly allow that 10-3 Big 12 team in, but guess what? I'm not on the committee. And at that point, the committee is going to look at Texas A&M and go, oh, wait a second. Look at those 3 letters. It says SEC. Let them in. That is the dangerous truth of what the Big 12 is facing with the way the college football playoff is structured. We don't technically have to make it. Based on the college football playoff bylaws, as the way that Brock Osweiler, the prophet of college football, described it, we don't have to go. And that would be catastrophic, by the way. This 12-team format, us not getting in, would be catastrophic. I don't know, honestly, from a standpoint of, we just signed this TNT deal too, which is going to be awesome. But I'm not really sure. Like it says, the 12 participating teams will be the 5 conference champions ranked highest by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. That doesn't say the Big 12. It doesn't say Power 5. It doesn't say that you're safe. If that happens, if BYU, Colorado, Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona State, anybody is bumped. Especially if one of these random 4-loss teams, a Baylor, who is mathematically still in it, wins this conference, we are so doomed. On the flip side, there is a way. There is a way. BYU at 11-2. Colorado at 11-2, conference champions of the Big 12. They are in. No doubt, 11-2, Big 12 champion, you're in. BYU having lost the conference championship game, and I'm going to explain this more in depth later. The committee has said they won't penalize for the results of the conference title. Do I believe them? No. But if that's true, and BYU is technically 11-1 because you're not being penalized for the conference title game, which there was a scenario in which there were Big 12 teams that could go 11-1 and still miss the Big 12 title game and make it in as an at-large. If that becomes the case, yes, my friends, 11-2 BYU, 11-2 Colorado could both find their way in. It's going to take a little bit of help from our friends in the SEC cannibalizing each other, which they're kind of doing right now. But there's a world, there's a way where we find two Big 12 teams, number 11 seed BYU and number 7 seed Colorado in the big dance, baby. Hopefully they wouldn't make the two teams play round one. I can only imagine one of them will play Indiana. Like they're going to try to take away some of the smaller teams. They'll call them the smaller teams. But that's the Big 12 playoff outlook. And it's kind of crazy. There's a not too wild scenario in which we miss the entire dance. Oh, that would be bad. Coming up, BYU fans, me and you, we've got to talk on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is the place that I go to say, hey, Texas Tech's only favored by 3.5 this week, playing Oklahoma State, who is not very good at football. I'm going to put a lot of money on that. Get ready to tackle the NFL or college football with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $5. Get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need all in one place, including, that's right, live betting. See the latest stats, see play-by-play, and go make the picks you want to make in-game. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. New users, $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. That is FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel and do it today. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time? My favorite ticketing app. Why? It has a seat view, which is cool. Has the lowest price guarantee, which is cool. It has Game Time ticket coverage, the most flexible in the entire ticketing industry. But my favorite part is the all-in pricing. No more hidden fees at the end. You toggle the all-in pricing, and it shows you the total up front. No surprise fees at checkout. That is the beauty of Game Time. They even have curated deals, like their super deal every week. See the seat, get the lowest price guarantee, download the Game Time app to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Save money. Buy those tickets you've always wanted at Game Time. BYU fans, time to talk, baby. Line them up. What you did in losing to Kansas this week was not good. Tough to sugarcoat. As I was watching this, the rage that filled me, the fire A-Rod that climbed up my spine was an overreaction. How do you fire an offensive coordinator at 9-1? Now, I'll tell you. Can I give you some of the bad news first? Of your last 26 possessions, you have scored 3 touchdowns. 1 of 6 against UCF in the second half, 1 of 12 against Utah, 1 of 8 against Kansas. This from Nick Lee. That is not good. Kansas had given up from Darnell Dixon 29 or more points 5 times this season. The Cougars managed 13 at home, 2 empty possessions inside the red zone. Is that bad for your OC? Yes. Is it bad for your quarterback, for your running back, for your offensive line? Probably. Is this bad for your college football playoff chances? Absolutely. Is this an excusable loss in the eyes of the committee? No, you played a 3-6 Kansas team that you should blow the doors off of. But there is solace. There is reprieve. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And, buddy, there is hope. You still control your destiny. You still control your destiny. You play an Arizona State team this week that if you win, if you don't freak out, if everyone stays calm, you're going to go to the Big 12 championship. You can win the Big 12 championship and still go to the college football playoff. The immediate reaction is certainly, well, We got to fire somebody. We got to do something. How do you lose to this porous Kansas team? And maybe there's some validation to not wanting to lose to this brand, this 3-6 team. And you really haven't played well 3 of your last 4 games. Utah, you win it on what many would say is a miracle. Oklahoma State, you win it on another miracle drive. UCF, you go on the road, you dominate. But other 3 out of those 4, including that Kansas loss, were not good. Who are the best Big 12 teams right now? Like if BYU played Colorado today, it wouldn't go well based on the trajectory of BYU. You scored 13 points against a very bad Kansas defense. If BYU played Arizona State, as we'll see, eye test, momentum, power ranking, I don't know what that looks like for BYU. If they played Baylor again, we just saw they did against Kansas, who's hot right now. BYU is not hot right now. But what's good is if we all take a deep breath, kind of sit down for a second, and I know this is not normal territory for BYU fans, and to be honest with you, this is why I brought you here after class. I'm not used to this either. Big 12 teams aren't used to this situation. The only perennial college football playoff contender we had was Oklahoma. And that wasn't in a 12-team format. This is new for all of us. The experience of having a school at the doorstep of a college football playoff, I understand why you want to freak out, why I want to freak out, why everybody's saying, all right, is BYU dead after 1 loss? Because now the entire league's talking about, oh, it's pure chaos. Oh, it's going to cannibalize. Oh, there's no way. Oh, BYU doesn't have enough momentum to beat Arizona State. I think if you throw all of that out the window and give me back the BYU that beat Kansas State, give me back the BYU that focuses on the middle 8, give me the BYU that scores in the red zone, you have a mulligan. You have a mulligan. That's why I love the 12-team playoff of the college football, the new college football playoff format. You can lose a game. Now, the timing of it certainly matters. Notre Dame, their game against Northern Illinois doesn't exist anymore. No one cares anymore. Alabama's lost to Vanderbilt. No one cares anymore. If BYU had lost to SMU, but won against Kansas, and was 9-1 via that route, it would be so much better for BYU because there's timeliness in this whole deal. But even so, given 12 teams, you can lose a game and still be okay. We don't get the respect. The Big 12 does not get the respect that it deserves at the top level. We understand that. We can't grab you up, pick you up by your bootstraps, and carry you to that finish line. They don't love us enough to do that. But the format is going to love you based on the idea that you can lose a game and still be safe, which is how it goes now for a team that ultimately controls its destiny. The outside noise, the gloom and doom, the fire somebody. It's wrong. If you win every game ahead of you, you're in the college football playoff undisputed. And I'm going to say something. If you're a BYU staffer, if you work for the university, if you're a coach, if you're somebody directly tied to that football program, plug your ears for like 45 seconds. If you're a fan, I'm going to tell you the harsh news that kind of rocks for you. There's a non-zero chance, pretty good chance, Boise State is ranked ahead of BYU and gets the 4 spot and the bye. What does that mean for BYU? A home playoff game. You go 12-1. You're the number 7 seed. And I know the coaches want to buy. I know the coaches are not talking about, oh, well, we can position ourselves to have a game in Provo at night. LES, Vampire Kooks. That's not the rhetoric right now. But if it's just me and you, the fans, talking, it would kind of rock to have a playoff game in Provo. I would go. Can you imagine what that atmosphere would be like? BYU hosting Indiana, maybe. BYU hosting Ole Miss. BYU hosting Alabama. Of course the Cougs get up for a game like that. And there's a real shot you win that game. BYU hosting SMU. Miami. Can you imagine? It's not all that bad. Again, I'm going through this for the first time. You're going through this for the first time. The Big 12, for the most part, is trying to sift through these uncharted waters of a 12-team college football playoff. And your first reaction when you're number 1 undefeated team loses to 3-6, your first reaction is to toss in the towel and say, this is it. We have completely fallen into chaos. It only gets worse from here. Arizona State's going to win. BYU might be a 3-loss team outside of the Big 12 championship. It was all for naught. I know, as all of us rallying together as underdogs, I know why that has been the sentiment. But it's not reality. It's not what has to happen. Sky is not falling yet. BYU is not dead yet. Your football season is not over yet. There's hope for BYU, even if you're outside of the top 12 this week. Just beat Arizona State, and you have another top 25 win. And then you're back in the top 12. Beat Houston. And both those teams are playing well. Houston less so now. But you beat Houston. Now you're 11-1. Go to the Big 12 championship. You win it. You're in. You lose the Big 12 championship. You still have 11 wins. And the committee told me they're not going to take conference championship into account to penalize teams. If that is the case, if that truly is the case, you're okay. 11-2, you're okay. They're not going to penalize you for that extra game. Whereas 11-1 sitting on your couch would have gotten you in. I don't think it's as bad as many of us made it seem immediately after, and as many BYU fans, understandably so, were upset, ready to fire somebody, ready to lose their minds after the loss. Just hold on. Ye of much faith. I know you've got faith in there. There's one thing BYU fans have, it's that. Hold on to it, because the players are on Twitter. The coaches are on Twitter. They see it. So just like blast positivity, dude. That's the best thing you can do for the team at this point. If they know, hey, the fans are behind it, they're going to show up on the road this week. That's how the Big 12 wins at the top. Calm down. It's not that deep. Take a deep breath. This has been and always will be. Come back the rest of the week for tomorrow. I'm going to tell you why BYU will beat Arizona State. I'll also tell you why Arizona State will beat BYU on Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose grande.